Sports, they're a lot like politics. Everyone's got an opinion, yet it seems like nobody can ever agree. So how is it that Commanders Nation seems to have a near unanimous sentiment that Joe Whitt Jr. is a problem? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Full Command Show. My name is Grant Mitchell, and we're here to talk about everything involving the Washington Commanders. The theme of today's show is a man who has found himself in the headlines recently. Washington Commanders defensive coordinator Joe Whitt Jr. Is he the big problem that is keeping this team from repeating what they did last year and potentially progressing even further beyond that, making their first Super Bowl appearance since 1991? Is Joe Whitt Jr. the problem? What are the shortcomings? How can I defend him? And what do I want to see changed in the future? We are going to jump into all that in just a second, guys. But before we do, make sure you hit the like button on this video. The support over these last 3-4 days or so has been outstanding. We have really started to hit some pretty impressive numbers, and I owe it all to you guys. I'm nothing without you. So I appreciate you all deeply, and I hope to continue to deliver on the content that you guys appreciate and approve of. Now, quick note, this is normally where I say hit the subscribe button because coming out with daily uploads and you never want to miss out. I got to hold my hands up here, and I hope you guys can forgive me. Me and the lady, we're going on a trip today. We leave as soon as I finish recording this video and get it posted, basically. So there's not going to be a video on Thursday, unfortunately. I know, I'm sorry. Would love to be in front of the camera if I could. I'm going to post a game preview for Chargers Commanders on Thursday. No, is that right? No, I'm sorry. I'm going to post that on Friday. No video on Thursday. I'm going to post that on Friday. I'm going to try to get to you guys on Saturday. If I can't, then you can expect the 5 Names to Remember series making its return after the conclusion of the game on Sunday. So again, no video tomorrow, Thursday, game preview Friday, Saturday's up in the air. We're going to have to wait and see. And then Sunday, I'll be back in front of the camera talking to you guys. So if you can forgive me for that, then do hit the subscribe button if you have not up to this point already. And to the returning viewers, you guys already know the drill. You are awesome, and I appreciate you all. Make sure you go to the comment section and leave me your thoughts on what I'm about to say here, because this is inevitably going to be a very controversial and divisive episode, because that's where we're at with the team right now. There's the eternal optimists who say the team has been injured. It was an undesirable start to the season. There's been a lot of communication breakdowns, but you're still only 500. If that's the baseline, then look how much better it can get. We saw this team in the conference championship game last year. Then you've got the more cynical type of people, which I'm one of those. I don't say that negatively, but you've got the more pessimists, the people who hold the team to such a high standard that when they don't hit that, it feels like the world is starting to crumble a little bit. And they say, man, this was the easiest month of the season, yet we're 500. What's going to happen next? We're going across the country to face Justin Herbert and this outstanding defense. Jaden's only just coming back from an injury. McLaurin's injured. I found out the other day that the Commanders are spending the 4th most money in the NFL on their defense of any team. So they'll look at that and say, how is the defense not performing better when you've invested that amount of money into it? And really, despite anywhere you are on that spectrum, it seems like everybody's got a problem with Joe Whitt Jr. So I really wanted to make that the focus of this video today. And let me start by saying this. To the people who say that it's a scheme issue and that they see Joe Whitt Jr. in the booth and they don't see him making adjustments, I disagree with you. Now, do I think putting Bobby Wagner in conflict with Bijan Robinson in a mesh rail concept is a good idea? No, I don't. The number one thing I said before the Falcons game was you need speed on the field. That's how you contain Bijan. Obviously, Bobby Wagner in space one-on-one against Bijan is not the right call. Now, I was listening to the Take Command podcast. There's a funny story, which I'll tell another time, about how I got the name Full Command, and they already had Take Command. But I was listening to Logan Paulson say, look, Logan Paulson, former Washington tight end, does a great job. Really love his work. Big fan of his. But I was listening to him say, look, sometimes you just have the right play call. The offense has the right play call. The defense has the wrong play call. And that's true, okay? Mesh rail, where you get a pick on Bobby, it's already a tough spot for him anyway. And if he gets picked off the spot, he's never making a play. That's 1,000% true. But if Jordan McGee is on the field on that play, he has a better chance of running down Bijan Robinson. He can maybe get a better pursuit angle, and instead of a 70-yard gain, it's a 15-yard gain, something like that. That's my counter to that. So that's not a scheming issue necessarily. It kind of comes down to it's a personnel issue. And then in this situation, could the play call have been different? It goes into different avenues of that. But we're just talking about strictly, is scheme an issue for the Commanders? Well, that predictable cover one man style that they talked about running all throughout the offseason, that we saw a heavy dose of against the Giants, and everyone said it was easy to tell what was coming. Well, guess what? We want to talk about not making adjustments. Commanders cover one isn't their favorite person or their favorite defensive package anymore. They now run cover three at the highest rate of all coverages. Now, cover one's just behind. I think cover one's at 27%, cover three's at 28%. They still run cover one at the sixth highest rate in the NFL. But still, there's been a pretty sharp change from a lot of man coverage to a lot of zone coverage. And sometimes that zone is matched, so it's a little bit different. It still mirrors some man principles, but even still, the adjustments have been made. What I would say, and Joe Whitt Jr. holds blame in my eyes, but this is why I want to differentiate between the two parts of it. I think the scheme is fine for the most part. Again, the exceptions, don't love the Bobby and mesh rail, don't love some of the stuff in certain situations, but overall, more times than not, it's been solid, okay? There's actually one play that's going viral on Twitter right now where people are saying, why is Dorrance Armstrong dropping back into coverage? Well, that play was actually drawn up pretty well because it forced the Falcons to keep 6 players into block, and you've got Armstrong and I think Wagner dropping out. So the Commanders only rushed 4, but the Falcons blocked 6 because they thought the blitz was coming. Now, Penix Jr. runs to the outside, gets around Armstrong, and scrambles for a first down, but he couldn't throw the ball because the Commanders had everybody dropped back in coverage, and that was the whole design of the play. So that play did what it was supposed to do. So again, scheme for me is not the issue right now. I think it's what's happening on the practice field, specifically the actual teaching element that goes into coaching. And this is why I say this. When I see the continued breakdown in communication on the same sort of principle, same structure of a play, motion across, vertical seam, saw it with the Tucker Kraft 57-yard play, saw it with the Tre Tucker 60-yard touchdown, saw it with Kyle Pitts' third down conversion on the first third down of the game. I think it went for 26 yards. Those repeated mistakes, that's where I have a problem. How about the play to Bijan Robinson? Not the rail route where he beat Bobby, but remember the one where it was 3rd and 2. Bijan catches it short, maybe 5 yards or so on the left side. And you look at the Commanders' defense, and there's nobody in sight. That was a communication breakdown. That had nothing to do with the wrong play call. What happened on that play was you had trips left. Bijan Robinson, one of the 3, split out to the left. Drake London starts a motion. They snap the ball before he reaches the offensive line, so he basically just gets a bit of a running start. He goes on a crossing route. Mike Sainristil attaches to him and then follows him over the middle of the field. He needed to hand that off to Bobby Wagner and then get back down to the flat. And that would, if he had done that, he would have been there to defend against that Bijan Robinson play. And you know what? It probably still would have been a completion, and it's only 2 yards, so would have been easy for him to get a first down, but you would have at least had someone in the area. And if that's the case, maybe Penix doesn't throw it there in the first place. Maybe that forces him to hold the ball for an extra second. Maybe you get a sack on that play. Who knows? But it is these communication breakdowns that I think are making – I think people are unfairly conflating what is teaching versus scheme. Now, this all does still boil back to Joe Whitt Jr., so I want to get back to that piece of this. What I think needs to happen is I think there needs to be an emphasis on making sure the players understand what their responsibilities actually are on these plays. What is the style we're going to play? If are we pressing? Are we getting physical? Are we playing soft in this zone? Or are we passing it off here? Are we staying attached? What are we doing? Also, we've got to understand there are limitations based on the personnel. Quan Martin, for example, there's a lot of talk about him having a potential Pro Bowl year this season. But he's being isolated because the Commanders' favorite coverages are cover 1 and cover 3. So he's guarding the middle of the field on his own. He's up there in single high. Most of the time he's on the field. Let's say like 60, 70% of the time. So when you look around and you see Marshawn Lattimore, who is an underperforming cornerback, you've got a new safety partner next to you because Will Harris has a broken leg. Now it's Jeremy Reeves or Tyler Owens. Percy Butler's got a hip injury as well, so he's not playing. And then you've also got a lack of speed in the middle of the field with Bobby Wagner and Frankie Luvu. Yeah, Quan's had a bad start to the year, and he could do a lot of things better. But with the personnel limitations, he has a lot of responsibility that he's trying to make up for. He's trying to make up for deficiencies by other members of his teammates. With Bobby Wagner, you can't run certain defenses. You can't run certain coverages over the middle of the field because you know that he doesn't have speed. Frankie Louvu is not a good zone defender, so you don't want him dropping back into coverage too often. Mike Sainristil got these instincts, but he's only 5'8", so you can't exactly force him to line up against an A.J. Brown type physical receiver. You can't expect him to line up with Drake London and shut him down either. You've got Lattimore who's underperforming. And while all of this is going on, you've got Trey Amos as a rookie. Normally you want to protect the rookie, but now you have to look at him as the guy that you're just leaving off on an island on his own, trusting that he's going to get the job done. So when I think about the big picture here, again, do I think there have been play calls in certain moments that have not gone the way you would have hoped for? Yes. Do I think that an injection of youth, do I think getting Jordan McGee on the field, do I think getting Tyler Owens on the field, do I think getting just more opportunities for other players, do I think that gives you more diversity? 100%. And do I want to see that? Yes, of course I do. But my biggest concern is what's being taught on the practice field. And that still boils back to Joe Whitt Jr., but I just want to reframe the conversation, because I feel like it's inappropriate to accuse him of making bad play calls or saying his scheme is bad. That's just my opinion on this matter. Please go to the comment section, leave me your thoughts. Let me know if you think I'm wrong or if you think I'm right. Whatever it is, I look forward to reading and hopefully responding to as many as I can. Now, one comment I did want to address, which shout out to Tim Phillips. This is the second time he got a shout out in like the last week or so, but he left a really insightful comment, which was basically, he said that Dan Quinn said after the game that he wished they had stunted more on the defensive line during that Falcons game. He also said that he wished the offense would have run the ball more often. So the question here is, does DQ need to get involved more? The head coach is a lot like, they're like the CEO. And when it comes to money, you've got your CFO. When it comes to marketing, you've got your CMO. Well, when you've got the offense, it's the offensive coordinator. It's the position coaches, defense, defensive coordinator, position coaches. The head coach is in charge of riding the ship, setting the structure, setting the culture, managing the clock, making key decisions. Are we going for it here? Are we kicking? Stuff like that. Throw the challenge flag. Well, does Dan Quinn need to get his hands in the mud a little bit more? Does he need to get his hands on and make some of these play calls? Maybe not play calls, but say, hey, look, on this play, we got to get a run. Or, hey, Cliff, series ends. You're talking about, hey, Cliff, we got to run the ball more here. Hey, Joe, we got to dial up the pressure here. Does he need to get more involved in those types of conversations? This is what I would say. Number one, we will never know what conversations are happening during the game. So we do have to keep that in mind. The way we can sort of track this situation, and I'll be honest, this depends on the media that talks to Dan Quinn after games, throughout the week, after practices. We need to continue to ask these questions of, hey, Dan, is there something that you spotted during the game that you wished you would have done differently? If he says, no, I felt like we did. We set a game plan. We followed it. We stuck to it. It just didn't work out. Or like that mesh rail play with Bobby Wagner. Look, we were in the wrong call defensively. They were in the right call. Credit to them. That's a sign that, okay, just didn't play out in your favor. If we continue to hear, oh, I wish we would have done this. Oh, I think we should have changed this. Oh, I wanted to do this and we didn't get to it. That's where I start to look at Dan Quinn a little sideways. And let me be clear, I'm not at that point. This is just referring back to the comment and the question that was posed to me. But if we do hit that point where it's like, hey, every single week we've got, need to do this, need to do this, need to do this. And it's not things like we need to tackle better or we got to catch the ball. It's actual structural changes that could have been made. That's the time where I would say, okay, we got to take a look at that. Now, my biggest concern with Dan Quinn is that he's only a 1 to 2 year guy. And I say that respectfully because I've got nothing but respect for Dan Quinn. I've loved every single second of him being in town. Okay. Immense respect for the man, the fact that he completely brought this franchise back from the dead, the culture that he has established. I can't say enough good things about Dan Quinn. But my concern with him, what's always been lingering in the back of my mind, is that he's a 1 to 2 year guy. He sets the culture. He makes a bad team believe in themselves, sign some veterans, right the ship, get them going, get them confident, make them believe themselves, and then you're stuck. You've got a ceiling. You don't get over the top. He got to the Super Bowl in Atlanta. He obviously won a Super Bowl as a coordinator in Seattle. But as the man in charge, can he make those pivotal decisions? Can he develop that scheme? Can he take over a game himself as a coach with sharp clock management or in-game adjustments? That is what has always been lingering in the back of my mind. And it's not something that I've had to worry about because the Commanders have been bad for so long. I didn't expect them to get the conference championship game last year. I don't expect them to get there this year. But when we get 2, 3, 4 years down the line, and finally it's like, okay, 10-7 is the minimum. Maybe we go 11-6. Maybe it's 12-5. Maybe it's 13-4. When you get to that point, that's when we're going to look back on moments like these where Dan Quinn says, hey, I wish we would have stunted more. Hey, I wish we would have run more. And that's when you're really going to have to evaluate, is this the man to win a Super Bowl for us? But one final time, let me be clear, I am not there with Dan Quinn yet. Just a situation I am monitoring. So to wrap up here, scheme to me right now is not the issue. Situational play calls could be better here and there, of course, but it's a lot of hindsight as well. You look back, you say, well, this communication breakdown happened. That's why the Falcons took advantage of it. Not necessarily you were in the wrong play call. But make sure you guys do go to the comment section. Leave me your thoughts on everything I said here. I am going to go ahead and get on out of here and hit the road because I will be on my trip. I'll be checking in with you guys in the comment section as frequently as I can while I'm on the trip, but also keep in mind I am on vacation, so cut me a little bit of grace. Make sure you keep an eye out for that game preview on Friday. I recorded it, thought it went really well, so hope that you guys like it as well. But that's going to do it for me here today. I appreciate you all being here, and as I always say, I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great day.
Chew with me.